there's been so many misconceptions when it comes to that word submission. If you were to look at the word sub, it means to come under. Submission is a sub, to come under the mission.
Us women need to choose our husbands carefully because
This is an exciting conversation because I feel like a lot of people struggle with the word submission.
I 100% agree. It's one of those ones where it's like, you want me to submit and just listen to what you have to say and not share my opinions? What?
Yeah,
You know?
it has so, like, I didn't know how much of an issue it was, and I get it, but I didn't know how much of an issue it was until I started to grow up and hearing different people's opinions. Because, like you said, there's been so many misconceptions when it comes to that word submission that a lot of people don't like. For an example, a lot of people see submission as weakness.
Very true.
You know, we see it as, oh, if I need to submit to you, that must mean you are the more powerful one.
That's very true.
Don't worry, you're okay. Megan's kind of sick today, guys, so give her a little bit of grace.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, no, 100%. It could definitely come across as, oh, submission means that I'm weak or that I have to, submit all my opinions and my ideas because I need to listen or, go under the authority of whatever my husband says. And that's not the case at all. But it's even like, how did we get to a place of where submission has now become this thing where it's like, could never be me. I do what I want to do. You know, that type of way?
Yeah. Well, I think, there's a difference between biblical submission versus traditional submission. I think when we hear the word submission, a lot of people think back to their great grandmother and how they were treated. I think there's a lot of men, dysfunctional men, who think submission means this girl needs to do exactly what I say, and if she doesn't do it, she is a horrible woman. I think there's a lot of dysfunctional men that think about that way. So I think on the two sides, there's a lot of misconceptions. I think submission is actually for both male and female. I think it's for both the husband and the wife. So I think a lot of people just don't know much about submission, and I think if you did, you would. And I actually think God calls us to submit. We see it everywhere. We see the churches to submit to Christ. We see that the Son, Jesus Christ, had to humble himself, and he would have to obey the Father's command. So he, as God, still needed to submit to the will of the Father. So we see it all the time. Submission is something that's important for something to work. For a marriage to work, submission is needed. I can say this for free. I don't think marriage works without submission. I don't think relationships will work in the long term without submission.
Mm. And I think that's so true as well. And as well as having submission, but like submitting correctly
Yeah.
as well, because you can have a misunderstanding and be submitting in a way where you think is biblical, but it's actually not. For
Mm.
example, I thought to submit, I needed to forgo my opinions and just, okay, whatever you say, go. So in a conversation where it's supposed to be like, okay, no, let's like talk about this together. Let's see what we want to do as a family. I'll
Mm.
just be like, oh no, whatever you say is fine. But that's not me submitting. That's actually quite harmful to our relationship because where you're trying to make a decision for our family to take us further, you don't have my input now. And
Mm.
you want my input, you
Mm.
know?
Very good. And I think this is important that we need to rule out all the misconceptions, because I think there'll probably be a few different people um, hearing this. I think there's going to be people hearing this that want to submit but don't know how to do it correctly. I think you're going to have people who do not want to submit and but are interested and maybe intrigued and want to know a little bit more about what genuine biblical submission is. And I think by the end of this video, I genuinely, I think if you're a person who doesn't want to submit or you're a person who submits incorrectly, I actually think you'll come out with more information and a little bit better knowledge, and maybe, to be honest, just more direction. Because again, we're two people still figuring this out, but we've seen a little bit, and Scripture is, very clear on it. And even when you look at the word submit, if you were to look at the word sub, it means to come under, like submarine. It's like to come under water. It's to come under. Submission is to sub, to come under the mission. And God calls both men and women to submit. So we're going to look a little bit at Ephesians 5 because we couldn't ignore this passage. Paul talks about submission here so clearly in a way that's so applicable and understandable. So we're going to look at a few verses here, and we're not going to read the entire chapter.
Yeah.
If you guys want to read the chapter, we 100% encourage you to do so. And the second half of the chapter is where it talks about submission. It's actually really, really interesting. And one interesting thing I'll say to you, Megan, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in chapter 5, let's open up real quickly. I'll actually come back to the exciting moment in a second.
Cliffhanger. Okay.
Cliffhanger. So yeah, hey, let me do this real quick. If you want to hear what I'm about to say, why don't you like and comment? And if you haven't already, subscribe. Verse 21. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to look at here. Okay, and further submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Okay, so here Paul is saying that men and women should submit to one another. So the call isn't for women to submit alone, and the call isn't for men to submit alone. It's for both men and women to submit. I think that debunks a lot of stuff quite quickly.
Yeah.
Because you might be watching this as a lad and thinking that your woman was just supposed to submit to you. Nah, my friend. As a husband, I need to be able to submit to you, as well as you to submit to me. What do you think of that?
I think that's very good. I think it's very easy to skip that as well, and like roll past it. But that, like, the whole idea that we've built of submission in a cultural sense is debunked right there and then. And even there, like, it even gives us the why, out of reverence for Christ.
Exactly.
Like,
out of honor, out of worship, out of high respect for the Lord, for Jesus Christ. Exactly.
Yeah, it's so good. And even when you read on, it says there on 22, sorry, for wives, this means submit to your husbands as the Lord. But then it also goes on to say, submit in 24, submit to your husband in everything. And why I thought that was so intriguing is because at the end of the day, it brings you to a point where you as my husband, okay, let's say, and this is how, like, my opinion, when we're making a decision as a family, if we can't decide, I'm going to submit under the fact that I know that you know what's best for us. Okay, we'll go with whatever you say on that matter, and this also is important because I used to think that, okay, if I need to submit to you in everything, then I can't add my own opinion, like I was saying before, because I need to submit in everything. But when you think about it, that's not biblical to just hold, like, that's where issue comes into play. That's where toxicity can come into play, where you don't have the both parties communicating together to submit to one another, that type of way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. And I know for some people that can be such a hard pill to swallow, to submit in everything. So again, Paul is very clearly talking about submission, and he's talking about women here and how you can submit to your husband. And here's the thing, everyone, whether you like it or not, God has created all of us differently. Male and female, he has created us differently. And God only made two genders. So I'm sorry to anyone who thinks there's 50 or 70 genders. God has only made two genders, male and female, and he has created us differently. So I don't care what your 2026 logic says. There's certain things that Megan can do that I can't do, but there's also certain things that God has created Megan to do and that he's not created me to do. So for an example, you're able to give birth to children. I cannot. women oftentimes have a more nurturing, caring aspect. Again, I would say that I'm caring. I don't know if I'm nurturing, but you have it to such a high degree, you know, because it's necessary for a baby, you know. Even if I'm looking at animals, for an example, I have a dog, and her name is Haley. She's a husky.
Mhm.
But when you look at certain animals, the women animals would often have a rougher tongue, so they'd be able to clean their cubs.
Mm.
So their tongues would be rougher than their male counterparts. But again, male and female, God created them differently with specific roles. Here, God created the man to be the lead of the house.
Mm.
That is a non-negotiable. The man is to be the leader of the house. Now, that does not mean in our house that I say jump and you jump.
Mhm.
Like from your part, what does that mean? For me to be the man, for me to be the leader of the house, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think that's so good. And I'll answer that as well. But even into the husbands, to wives submitting to your husbands in everything,
Yeah.
I think it applies to what you're asking me here, because I think it's so important that us women need to choose our husbands carefully,
Mm,
because your husband needs to be worth submitting to. You need to be
yeah.
like, this is a
So
man
true.
that I can submit to, because scripture tells us, okay, in everything, okay, I'm going to submit. So we need to be wise in who you pick as your husband, because that's it. And you got to trust that leadership. And for us, and what that looks like to me, like you said, men and women different. I do stuff better than you do things better than me. But I don't think leadership is based on ability, in the sense of, oh, I can do this better, you can do this better. Let's say if I was smarter than you, let's say if I was faster than you and stronger than you, which I'm not, but let's
Mm,
say if I was, that doesn't mean because I'm better in those things that I should now take lead over everything we do in our
mm,
family, because as a man you are called to lead. And you might be like, oh, like you're better at me in all these things, but that's when you step up and do the stuff that you can do in your own capacity. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
Um, so let's say you're the one that says, okay, hey, let's go into a time of devotion, you know? Let's go into a time of prayer, the one who sets the pace for certain things in our family. Um, and with our relationship, I feel like you like although you don't give me spiritual growth, but you set the direction where we're going spiritually as a family,
mm.
you know, in a lot of things. And of course I can definitely bring stuff to the table,
Yes, you do.
and you might be like, that's a great idea, but I don't think we're doing that in this season. I think this season is more of a season where we're going to actually fast and pray, and what you said is actually for the next season, you know, that
Mm,
type of way.
yeah.
So although I'm bringing, oh, I think this is great, you're actually very good at discerning. You discern whether, that's actually not where we're going as a family, or no, actually, yeah, we will go down that path. You
Mm,
know, that type of way.
yeah.
So in those like major decisions, I trust your leadership for our family.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And like, you know, even to just to continue on what you were saying, like I grew up in a household where I seen mom and dad make decisions together. I know in your house it was the same. You seen mom and dad make decisions together. They stood
Mm,
by each other. However, both of us knew that dad was the head of the house.
yeah.
It didn't mean that mom was any less. It doesn't. We make decisions together. There has never been a point in our relationship, and I can never imagine that there will ever be a time in our relationship where I say, well, too bad I'm the man of the I don't think that will ever happen. I don't think it ever needs to happen because we make decisions together. But you know, there's this submission, there's this respect that, okay, you're the leader of the house. I know um, that the Lord has entrusted me with a family that I am to lead and I am to take care of. There are different aspects of being a man that I will need to uphold to because I am the man of the house.
Mm,
And as for example, to protect and to provide. Now we both have jobs, you know. So again, it doesn't mean that if someone breaks into the house that only I can protect him, and you just sit there. Of course, I'm going to be the one to.
Yeah, I'm running for the hills.
I'm not going to call you for reinforcements now. I need to be very careful. But however, if let's say I wasn't there and someone came in, you're obviously going to defend yourself. You're not just going to wait and say, "Oh, where's my hubby?" You know what I mean? Unless you could hide or something. Trying to pick my words very carefully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, I am the leader of the house, but that comes not with just authority, but responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Mm.
Now, God calls men to submit to women in a different way. And I would like to point out, especially for all the women who are listening, Paul talks a lot more about how men should submit to women than women submitting to men. And that was the exciting thing I wanted to tell you. If you actually just read that little verse there, that's all it talks about, how women should support. But the rest of it is how men should submit to their wives. So keep that in mind, women, but also men, keep that in mind, that God wants you to be able to submit. How? This is what it says. For husbands, this is verse 25. For husbands, this means love your wife just as Christ loved the church. The bit I want to focus on is he gave up. Paul advises men into what I would call a sacrificial love, to give up. It says here in the whole verse, he gave up his life for her. We are called to give up, to sacrifice parts of our lives for our wives. It's the way in which we show our love. And, how I understood that when I was younger was this. Okay, I knew I wanted to marry from a young age. So I knew, okay, one day that means I'm going to have to be able to lay my life down for Megan. But as I grew older, I understood, no, what it actually means is I need to be willing to live my life for Megan. Because it's actually so much easier to lay something down rather than say, actually, I'm going to live for this. So I'm going to have to live up my life. I'm going to live my life in such a way where I am ready to release and sacrifice certain things for the betterment of my wife. And that's what submission looks like for a man. So please know that there are two different parts and roles for submission. It's not just for the women, and it's not just for the man, but they look different. And the way a woman submits is going to look different from how a man submits. And I don't want, it wouldn't be healthy if we had the expectation that, for example, I have to look at you as lead, so you're going to wear the trousers and make all the decisions, and that wouldn't be healthy. We weren't created in that way. It's not the way we were created, so it's not going to be how we perform best as a married couple or in a relationship.
Yeah. Even when you're just speaking there about men being so sacrificial, I was just thinking, even in the little things, I'm like, it is so true. Like, you are someone who actually dies to a lot of your preferences for my sake. And that's simply just to make me happy. Never mind everything else that comes with it, that type of way.
Because let me show you this real quick. For a man who loves his wife, actually shows love for himself. I was sitting with a pastor, and I'll let you finish your thought in a second. I was sitting with a pastor, and he says, Patrick, it's impossible for you to love yourself if you do not love your wife.
Wow. That's insane, because that's exactly kind of my point. I was just going to say how, in the small things, it's actually insane. Throughout the years of our relationship, something simple as snacks. You don't you're often don't literally.
That's the worst.
I know. But hear me out, yeah. You have changed your preferences of snacks to appeal to me.
I've changed bigger preferences than just snacks. I'll tell you that. I'm a bit offended that that's all that you're able to bring up. I'm a bit offended. Snacks.
But I'm that's so small. Why would you even bother doing that? Do you get me? But it's that.
Snacks.
That's a level.
Offended.
No, but even I'm trying to say, even in those little details.
Yeah.
You're
could have said something substantial to make me look good. So snacks. Yeah.
Like,
Nah, nah, nah.
okay,
No,
I'll
no, no,
leave it
no.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, nah. You're 100%. We're called to submit in different ways. And again, I'm still figuring that out. 100%. Like, I'm truly, I'm still figuring that out. Like to protect, to, to me, like, again, it took me some time to realize that to protect isn't just physical, but how am I protecting you emotionally? How am I protecting you mentally? And it's not that, okay, all the responsibility on me is to do that. No, 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 it's not. God has not called me into that. But there's a way I can play my part within that. I cannot protect you 24 hours. Lord knows, but the Lord can. So He's called me to play a part within His will for your life. And so again, still learning, same way you're learning what it means to submit in everything.
Yeah.
That can be difficult to be able to understand and know.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to also realize for both like men and women, for both husbands and wives, that when we talk about submission, like we submit to God first,
Yeah.
So if I'm submitting to you, I'm going to submit to God first.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then so if something you're saying, or if you're saying, hey,
Of course.
we're gonna go rob a store, I'm like, I'm not really thinking that's in alignment to God, so I ain't
Yeah,
gonna do that.
of course.
So
Mhm.
there's parameters within that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, although I'm submitting to you, I know you're a man of God. I know you're worthy to submit to you, but also submission doesn't mean leave your brain at the altar and not actually
100%.
use your own sense to know, oh, like, babe, that's not from God. Let's
Yeah.
pray about that.
Yeah, 100%. I so agree with you. Like you said earlier, especially for women, your man should be a man worth submitting to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a man, your woman should be a woman worth submitting to. You know what I mean? Like you, like, how do I say this? Those of you that are in relationships, particularly I'm going to talk about women, because if you're going to submit to a man and he's going to lead you, like he's going to lead your family, that's very big. And if he is not submitting to God, that's trouble.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't know if you can trust someone if they're not going to be under submission to God.
Yeah.
However, what I will say is that if you're married, scripture is very clear. And even if you are married to someone who doesn't know God intimately, I would still encourage you to submit to his lead. And what I would say to you is, as long as things are within parameters, go for it. And the only thing I would even encourage you to do again is to continue to pray, because regardless of someone is a Christian or a non-Christian, it does not mean that God can't speak to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that God can't use them.
That's
So
true.
you never know what might be able to happen or to even occur, despite where their fate is at. So that might help someone, because I know there's been a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't know where he's at yet, A, B, and C. Well, let's continue to pray for him, and just to make sure that in what he's asking you or in where he's leading you, it's still within the parameters and it's in a godly direction. Like if he's leading you off a cliff, girl, use your 2 cents there. But just remember that God can still work through people, even if they're, not praying in the secret room 24/7.
Very good, very good. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Sorry.
Don't stress. You're good.
Guys,
You want some water?
yes, please. Sorry.
You didn't bring any, no?
No, please lend me some of yours. Mm.
Just say what you were gonna say. I don't know if I can drink that. Like I'll get sick.
Then let me just have more. Thanks, babe.
No worries.
Great act of submission. No, I'm joking. Why are you cleaning
I'm
it?
not getting sick. I'm not getting sick.
I don't like when you clean something that
I don't do often.
I know, but okay.
Submit to me, girl.
Don't make me
Guys, we're joking. We're joking.
Okay. What I was gonna say before I start coughing again is that submission is a great, great tool to use, but when it is used correctly. So if submission is something that you're struggling with, or you're wondering, oh, like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, or like, do I need to submit to everything? I hope like this has helped you kind of decipher and kind of understand um where, okay, this makes sense and it doesn't make sense. Um
Yes.
for example, with the submitting when, let's say, it's not under the like alignment to what God would say, that's something that I never really actually thought of, but I had to actually do a deeper dive to kind of understand, okay, it's not everything that you say is gold. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And although you are a man of God, like I can pray about the things that you say as well and bring
Mm.
different like
Yeah.
opinions, like.
Yeah.
And something that's so interesting and so good for us women to know is that if I am not bringing my opinion, my thoughts to the table, when you're making a decision, it's actually going to be very hard.
Mhm.
And it won't even be the correct one per se, because now I'm just left with you to juggle with, or what would Megan think, or like, it's actually unkind. It's not clear to not bring what you're thinking about your family. Like, this is your
Mm.
lives together. Like, don't not speak on what you think you need to speak on. Like that's your husband. Like, he wants the best for you. He wants to love you. He wants the family to grow. Like, so in everything, like, just go towards him and bring it, and don't feel like you can't. Like, if you feel like you can't speak, like, that's a whole nother conversation to have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think, like, I think this, yeah. Submission is less about agreement and more about alignment. And I think, like, when I look at our relationship, Megan,
Mm.
there so many things we don't fully agree with each other. So many things. However, we will continue to conversate, talk, and talk and talk until we come to this place where we say, in despite of this is where we're going, we are aligned together.
Mm.
So even if there's not total agreement, hey, that's okay. There very rarely is total 100% agreement, but hey, we are aligned. I trust you and you trust me. Okay, we are aligned, and this is the direction in which we're going together. So
Yeah.
we always want to be moving together instead of moving apart.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. That's so good. Guys, again, please, 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 please have these conversations within your own
Yeah, you
marriage.
have
So,
to.
like, although we've had the conversation
Yeah,
here,
even if you're in a relationship, have it.
have the conversation.
Because one day, if you're in a relationship, we're assuming that one day you'll want to become married.
Mm.
So have these conversations. Have these conversations with friends. Men, realize that God has given you a position and a responsibility and a part to play. Don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
There's so many people I talk to help me think better, to help me lead better, to help me be better, to help me treat my wife better and love her better. Because as scripture says, I cannot love myself if I don't love my wife. She's an extension of me. And just like the way Jesus loved the body, Jesus loved the church and gave up his life for it, we are called to do similar with our wives.
100%. And us women are called to be helpers. It says it in the Bible. We're called to help. We're called to support. And a support is not something to look down upon. That's
Yeah,
a
100%.
that's a hefty role, because
100%.
without a good support system, everything crumbles.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. And again, with this type of stuff, like, you have to put so much disclaimers because people can take it so literally. I've literally seen um, families where, let's say, the woman is a speaker and she travels everywhere, and the husband goes with her to support her. That's not a sin. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Men, you can support your women too. Now, I
You
think
should support your
you know what I
women.
mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a whole different conversation if you're gonna just be the support and let her do everything. Well, that's get up your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's different. That's completely different. But again, use sense here and pray about it. Let the Holy Spirit help you to understand. Because submission is something that's very, very important. Because you'll have to learn it regardless. Because I'm sorry, you will have to learn how to submit to authority of all different types.
Yeah.
Whether that's your church leadership, whether that's law enforcement, and God. You know, like submission is something every single person has to do. You cannot escape. And if you don't learn how to submit, it's going to make it much harder for you to be obedient. And if you can't be obedient, well, you know, we'll see where you'll end up.
Yeah. And for those of you who are like watching this and it's like, I'm not married yet, or maybe you're engaged, you're dating, or even if you're single, like it's submission is something you can practice even when you're not in a relationship because it starts with you and God first. So start there. Start from submitting to God and like God, because sometimes God can give us words and He can give us directions, and like we struggle to submit to that.
Yeah.
Like if you can't submit to God, like you said, like if the husband can't submit to God, like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and it looks different. Like for an example, before we wrap up, I'll give an example. So the church I'm a part of, if you ask our leadership team what's our favorite color on the count of three, everyone will yell out
Green.
Everyone yells out green. My favorite color isn't green. However, in order for me to submit, to die to my preference in that, I will let go of what's my preference, so I can come under the alignment, the agreement of everyone else. Because where there is unity, there is a blessing. Please hear this. Without submission, you will find it very difficult to find unity. Something has to give.
Yeah.
In order to submit, you need to come under something. I'll say it like this. Okay. Without submission, it will be very difficult for you to come under the blessing of what God has in store for you. You will miss out on a tremendous amount of godly things if you lack the ability to submit. So it's not just in your relationship, it's with the Lord.
Yeah.
But there's going to be many streams and aspects and avenues of life where God is going to call you to submit.
Yeah.
And don't think you're going to learn how to do it then. It starts now.
Very good. Very good. Guys, we hope that this has really helped you and
Yeah.
encouraged you and, you know, just given greater clarity and direction for what submission can look like in your relationship, in your personal life, in your walk with Jesus. And if this is something that you found encouraging, or if
Crud.
sorry. I tried to hold it together.
Dang it.
Are you okay? That wasn't too hot, was it?
I'll be so real. This house was so cold. That was like the most lukewarm cup of tea I've ever had in my life.
Patrick's just after spilling his tea all
Oh,
over.
no, the camera definitely caught that. I was trying to keep it
Obviously.
together too. We love you. Like, comment, and subscribe so I can get some new jeans.
Yes, please. He only has the one blue pair.
I wish that was false. It's so true. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.